the F-35 was supposed to replace the F-15. Instead, the Air Force just bought 104 brand new Eagles, a fighter with no stealth, a massive radar signature, and a top speed the F-35 can't touch. This is the F-15EX Eagle II, and it exists for a reason the Pentagon doesn't talk about enough. The F-15EX is the heavyweight boxer, not the stealthy ninja. It takes punches and delivers knockout haymakers while the F-35 spots the openings. One penetrates, the other pulverizes. So why, in 2020, did the world's most advanced Air Force write a check for a fourth-generation fighter whose design is 50 years old? 3 reasons: a production gap that left squadrons thin, a readiness crisis that grounded hundreds of F-35s, and one specific capability no stealth jet can match. We'll get to all 3. Let's start with what makes this jet move. Under the skin of the F-15EX sit 2 General Electric F-110GE-129 engines. Each one produces 29,000 pounds of thrust. Together, they push this aircraft to Mach 2.5, roughly 1,900 miles per hour at altitude. The F-35A tops out at Mach 1.6. Now, in the era of beyond visual range missiles, top speed sounds like a vanity number. It isn't. Speed translates directly into missile kinematic energy. When an F-15EX launches an AIM-120 at Mach 2.5, that missile arrives at the target with far more energy than the same weapon fired from a slower platform. At range, that difference is the margin between a kill and a miss. Speed also defines intercept geometry. When an adversary aircraft or cruise missile is inbound and closing fast, you need a fighter that can sprint to the merge. The F-35 was not designed for that sprint. The F-15EX was built for nothing else. The twin-engine configuration adds a second factor: redundancy over hostile territory. If one power plant takes combat damage, the other keeps the jet and the pilot flying home. A single-engine fighter doesn't offer that insurance. Raw power has always been the Eagle's identity. The EX doesn't abandon it, it amplifies it. Here is the number that redefines how you think about this aircraft: 12. That is the maximum air-to-air missile load the F-15EX carries. 12 AMRAAM missiles, confirmed by Air Combat Command and Boeing's own platform documentation. No other operational U.S. fighter comes close in a massed fire configuration. The F-35 in its internal stealth configuration carries 2 AIM-120C or D missiles ready to fire. External pylons add capacity, but they break the low observable profile. The moment you hang weapons externally on an F-35, it is no longer operating as a stealth jet. The F-15EX was never a stealth jet, so it carries everything external all the time without a single trade-off in survivability logic. 12 AMRAAM missiles. Add AIM-9X sidewinders for close range. That is a serious magazine for a single aircraft. It means more shots per engagement, more options when the first volley doesn't finish the job, and more persistence when the fight drags into a second pass. The structural story gets even more significant when you add standoff precision-guided munitions. In 2023, Hill Air Force Base confirmed that the F-15EX successfully employed standoff precision weapons during integrated testing, validating it as a full-spectrum strike asset. And Boeing explicitly states the F-15EX has the ability to carry hypersonic weapons. The airframe's structural strength and payload capacity make it the only operational U.S. fighter currently rated and structurally configured for that mission. These weapons are physically too large for the F-35's airframe. The Eagle II is not just a fighter. It is a flying arsenal. Carrying 12 missiles is only useful if the aircraft can find and track 12 targets simultaneously. The F-15EX can. At the core of its sensor package is the APG-82 V1 Active Electronically Scanned Array radar. This is not a legacy radar with a software update. The APG-82 is a modern system with a wide field of regard, high-resolution synthetic aperture mapping, simultaneous air and ground track capability, and a low probability of intercept signature. It sees farther, tracks more contacts at once, and is significantly harder to detect than mechanically scanned arrays on older Eagles. Layered on top of the radar is EPAWSS, the Eagle Passive Active Warning Survivability System. This is the EX's electronic warfare suite, replacing the aging TEWS system on legacy F-15. EPAWSS integrates radar warning, electronic countermeasures, and active jamming into a single fused system. In plain terms, it blinds and confuses the enemy before they can complete a targeting solution. The third pillar is Open Mission Systems Architecture. This is the digital backbone that makes the F-15EX future-proof. Open Mission Systems means the software can be updated, new weapons can be integrated, and new sensors can be plugged in without redesigning the airframe from scratch. The cockpit runs dual large area displays and supports a two-seat crew configuration, critical for complex multi-domain missions where a dedicated weapons officer managing radar, electronic warfare, and 12 missile tracks has genuine tactical value. The F-15EX is not flying on old technology wrapped in a familiar shape. It is a modern combat system that happens to wear the Eagle's airframe. The most important thing to understand about the F-15EX is that it was never designed to fight the F-35. It was built to fight alongside it. Here is how modern air combat architecture works. The F-35 and F-22 go first. They penetrate contested airspace unseen, using low observable coatings and precise geometry to avoid detection by integrated air defense systems. They gather intelligence. They identify threats. They shoot from positions of advantage. Then, once the adversary's air defense network has been degraded or suppressed, the F-15EX enters. And it enters heavy, 12 AMRAAM and standoff strike capability. With range and endurance to sustain presence over the objective, with structural strength to carry weapons that stealth jets physically cannot. This is 4th and 5th generation teaming. It is not competition. It is division of labor. The F-35 is the scalpel. The F-15EX is the hammer. You do not choose between them. You sequence them. In a near-peer conflict against advanced surface-to-air missiles, no single platform wins alone. Stealth gets you in. Payload wins the fight. The F-15EX exists specifically for the second half of that equation. That is not a backup role. That is a primary mission. The United States Air Force originally planned a total buy of up to 144 F-15EX aircraft. Current budget materials confirm that procurement is still active. FY 2027 includes a request for an additional 24 jets. This is not a program winding down. It is still building. A significant portion of those aircraft are destined for Air National Guard units, replacing aging F-15C and D Eagles that have accumulated decades of structural fatigue. The Guard operates 1/3 of the Air Force's tactical fighter fleet. Modernizing it with the EX is a force-wide strategic decision. Because mass matters. In a sustained conflict, weeks or months, not hours, you need aircraft that can generate sorties at volume. The F-15EX is more affordable per unit than the F-35, carries a heavier load per sortie, and flies on a structural airframe the Air Force has projected to remain viable past 50 years after its first flight. The Eagle is not a legacy platform. It is a continuously modernized weapons system, one of the most cost-effective investments in American air power. The Pentagon didn't order new Eagles because it ran out of better ideas. It ordered them because the Eagle solves problems no other aircraft in the inventory can. We're already connecting the dots on something most channels won't touch. Subscribe and don't get left behind. Hardware of peace. Weapons explained. Power revealed. No politics.